news.
Hey, welcome back. I hope you all can hear me. Let's see. In the comments, can somebody just confirm that I'm good? Because I think that started like the last live stream or something where I was just talking. So somebody in the comments, I'm just going to... All right, outstanding. Outstanding. All right, so welcome everyone to the February live stream. All right, so a few things I want to cover today. I just want to do a quick errata for the state of the channel update because I screwed up on one of the things. It's an obsessive compulsive thing. It'll take 2 seconds, but I have to make it right. So there's that. So we'll get to that. There'll be some channel news. We'll talk a little bit about upcoming episodes, but not too much. And then kind of go into the Q&A period. All right, so just bear with me. I'm obsessive compulsive. Just bear with me on this one. All right, so... All right, I screwed up on a number. Okay? This number down here, the one, it says 170. I was like 15K off. I said like 184. All right, I was wrong. Formula error. It's fixed. good for tax time. That's error number 1. Error number 2 was I spelled Gary Nolan's name wrong. I had to add the extra R. That's it. That's all. All right. I had to get it. I had to get it out there. Done. Okay. So I correct my mistakes. I own up to them. I take responsibility for them, and then I publicly correct them. I guess it's in today's society. It's a bit of a bug, not a feature, but it is what it is. All right. Let's see. Who do we have on here? Anthony, I'm seeing a lot of you lately. Good to see you again, brother. Arthur, greetings. Ahashta Nagila, happy to see you again. Alpha Omega, beginning and the end, good to see you. Arrow Gmod, welcome. Yeah, that is kind of weird. I mean, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I mean, 8 in a row. And then just me. Good to see you again, just me. All right. All good. All right, let's see. All right. Yes. So we got the A train tonight. I don't know why, but we got the A train. Okay. So I covered that little piece of I fixed that. All right, channel news. So all right, this is kind of weird, but I have I'm on a radio station in New Orleans now. I don't ask me how it happened. Like, just ever since I started covering this topic, weird things just happen. Things that if you kind of just go along with wherever it's leading, it puts you in really weird places. So I don't know how long it's gonna last. So what I did is I'm on New Orleans radio station. It's 105.3 FM. I will be on there Sunday nights from 6 to 8 p.m. Pacific time. I think that would be 8 to 10 p.m. CST or local time in New Orleans. And I live nowhere near New Orleans. I've been there twice in my life, and that's about it. But I will be on Sunday nights those times. Pacific time, obviously, that's 9 to 11 p.m. And generally, what I'm going to try to do is take prior guests that I've had on the regular show, just because they've been kind of pre-vetted and won't go schizo on live air and have an FCC problem. And by the way, I've been given no rule book. They're like, just say the call sign, at the top of the hour, bottom of the hour, at the end of the show, and nothing about don't curse, don't. But I just assume I know what the rules are. I kind of just kind of figure it out. So I did my first show last week, and I also have permission to. I have permission to stream it to my own YouTube channel. So it's called Through a Glass Darkly Radio. I try to make it distinct enough that if there's any revenue share or anything like that on their end, they kind of get enough to pay for whatever the costs are, and then we start working stuff out. But I just kind of sent them a legal document just saying, this is my carve out. You're not reaching in and grabbing anything from my YouTube channel. It's my brand, yada yada. So anyway, next week, because Sunday's the beginning of the week. Morehouse is going to come on because he's an easy guest. It's just he'll talk for 95% of it and it'll go well and he'll entertain everybody. My first guest was obviously John Brandenburg, and he's great. So and he did fine. We just covered the whole Mars thing. We just did it in much faster, quicker manner. It's enough to cover 2 hours pretty easily. I'm trying to think what else. Other things in terms of the channel, I added some more tiers to Patreon if you care about that sort of thing. And you could just go there and figure it out. I don't want to waste anybody else's time talking about it. I also added little icons with Marvin the owl, the owl in the strange owl in my backyard that showed up on my fence that I got a bazillion pictures of. So, go check that out. In terms of upcoming episodes, there's a bunch of people I still have to reach out to. There's some people who've said yes. And then when you go to schedule a time, crickets. So I'm working through some of that. But for folks who are really into Nathaniel Gillis, he recommended or not recommended, but he was talking about a guy named Stephen Mera, who he thought was particularly interesting. So I just reached out to Steve, and we recorded 2 episodes. So the first of those will appear. Is already scheduled for Monday. The second one I like to probably put to another Monday. I like to kind of alternate the guests, because for some reason, like if you put back-to-back videos of the same guest, the second one never really does as well as the first one, but it does a lot less well if you put it back to back. If you kind of put in some variety and mix things up, the data seems to indicate that people like that a little bit more. Just a little bit of a change up in the landscape. All right, I've been ignoring comments. Whoa! Hold on. Well, I had to put that up. Steven, thank you very much. I very much appreciate that. You totally didn't have to do that, but I thank you. All right, now I'm going to go backwards a little bit because I missed a few comments. Oh, yeah, it is like the armpit of time slots, but yeah, I mean, I think people enjoyed it, but I just look at stats. So the bar is very low. Let's just say. I mean, it's obviously more than this podcast, but well, yeah, I would say I only have one video that has surpassed kind of the number of listens or plays or views, where you want to call it, at least on the live stream. So, and it's also not just radio listeners, it's across a number of different platforms on their end, from like YouTube, on National Public Radio's end. So the national it's like UPN, United Public Radio Network, or something like that. So I think on the first night it was 16,583. So it's a pretty low bar, and I'll crush that with Morehouse, because nobody knew about my show or anything like that. I think on Sunday nights, if you're doing 1 million on a Sunday night, that's exceptionally good. Like, that's exceptional. I should be able to break into the 100,000s pretty quickly, but we'll see. But like anything else, I'm gonna keep track of it. And the reason I'm doing it now, I'm making nothing, like $0, nothing from it, but I'm hoping it'll bring people to this audience, to this YouTube channel, to my Spotify account, and all that stuff. And just talking about this stuff in a broader way is kind of cool, and it's an interesting experience. We'll see how it goes. So it's 105.3 FM. Okay. Yep. And it's no. People, unless like I become like a George Norrie, and I don't have the voice. I don't have a voice for radio. I don't think so. I mean, I can talk, but I think the voice would need to be a lot deeper, a lot more resonant, etc., etc. But it could lead to other random things, right? That's how these things sort of work. If you try to aim for something directly, you get it's all over the place. Thomas Ferrario. I'll look into him. I'm not familiar with who he is. Can you say a little bit more in the comments, Alpha Omega? My interest is piqued now. I mean, I could easily look on the internet, but then I would not be paying attention to the live stream. Yeah, he's real deal. What though? Is he like the human Sasquatch or what? Like what is he? What he's a real deal what? What is he? Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's I mean, look, I'm going to be transparent. Like it's long-term greed, right? I do this because I love it, but I also do it because I want to generate, eventually make a living doing this stuff, right? And I'm not, you can call, you can call somebody a grifter doing this stuff, but it's like calling Taylor Swift a grifter. Like she's doing something she probably loves, right? But she's making a fortune doing it, right? I'm not. Again, I want to do well enough that I don't have to worry about burning cash every month or having to, go and take a day job. And that's the other thing. Like people are starting to reach out to me because there's like a huge this is like prime hiring season for CFOs, and on LinkedIn I've turned my like looking for work thing off because I just didn't want to deal with it. But there are like a ton of roles, and I'm not quite where I have to go back yet. I think I probably have another year before I start getting nervous. So, and it all depends on how the channel does. It all depends on how all this other stuff does. But I've been, as if you followed prior live streams, most of what I generate is from working at a local business school as a contractor, and also consulting, like consulting revenue, building financial models for people. And I did okay last year, enough to like stem the cash bleed, but there's still cash drip, right? So, and I've never really lived my life that way. I've always, been super cheap, right? Right. I have like a 2007 Honda, not Honda, Toyota, um, a Toyota, and and that's it. And we just fix it when it breaks down. We don't buy new things. We don't buy like things like that. So I've saved a lot, but I'm very uncomfortable when I watch that, cash stream start to diminish. So, and it's been diminishing for 2 years ever since I started doing this. It's just the rate of diminishment was not as dire last year because I was able to do this consulting work. So, we'll see. It's a tightrope act. I mean, the business plan always had foreseen me doing this for about 5 years, but I kind of expected to do a little bit less on the channel and run it with a full time job. And so far, I haven't felt the need, or it's less of a need. It's more of a desire to do that. Like I don't miss the corporate life at all. Like I, there's nothing about the only thing I miss about the corporate life is the money. That's it. There's no other. Everything else is I do not enjoy. Let's just say I just um, but I'm not going to get into that. It's just I can do it, but I'd rather build something out of nothing on my own and then build that out and build it out the right way and build it in a way that's sustainable and that people like and enjoy. And like I like doing it. It's kind of fun being an entrepreneur. It's just you know, and it's actually less stress, believe it or not. The only stress is the money aspect. Everything else is. Whereas if you're working in corporate, everything is stress except the money, because you're just dealing like there's people who are just people being people. I don't know why I went on that really weird Bla- Blavians. Oh, Kent, what are you doing here, Kent? Oh man, Kent knows what I'm talking about, don't you, Kent? I'm not gonna get into kind of how we know each other, but he's been through some of the same wars. He's a battle buddy. It's good to see you, brother. Very good to see you. Kent's got some stories, and I got some stories about Kent, but I'm not gonna say it, in front of all these people. But good to see you, brother. Chester, good to see you, my friend. Very good to see you. Who's Ted Phillips? On you got to tell me. Oh, Ted Phillips. on Marley Woods. I'll have to take a look at. You're talking about. Sorry, I'm like keeping in mind like 17 different things in my head. You're talking about Thomas. Oh, now I'm like I should have remembered the name immediately. Let's see. Thomas, come on, what was it? Thomas. And now that I'm on the clock, I obviously can't find it. Oh, come on, it was right there. All right, well, I'm just going to keep going. I could just watch my own podcast again. Let's see. Yeah, there isn't. There isn't. Right. But just as long as you don't like, don't be, just be transparent about it. Right. It's not the only reason I do it, but it would make it easier to do if I had to spend less time doing other things to make money. That's it. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's Frank. It's just it's people are just incompetent. Like that. Like it anything that you can. It's called it's a psychological term called the fundamental attribution error. Never attribute to malice something that is more likely due to circumstances. Like, I mean, have you seen our president? Do you think he's like that sophisticated? Do you think the last one was that sophisticated? Like these people can't even like, you know, can't even walk straight. You think they're going to have these like sophisticated conspiracies? Like here's what's going on with China. You had a bunch of companies that wanted to save a ton of money and get cheap labor, so they offshored everything to China, and then nobody was kind of watching over the piggy bank of the rest of the country to say, "Oh crap, all of our critical supply chains are in China." But it's just everybody was just trying to compete and maximize the return on investment, and then these things slowly grind, kind of are lost, and then the people who are supposed to be managing it in the U.S. government are just incompetent. Right? There might be people in intelligence agencies who are sounding the alarm and this and that, but people at the top just don't want to hear it. Right? They're more concerned with being reelected or going after political enemies. Like they're man children, right? And women children, whatever you want to call it, right? And they're a bunch of like grown adults in diapers who are just whining and complaining all day. And meanwhile, like the great questions of the day are, as they've always been, are settled by blood and iron. And none of these people are sending their kids; they're sending you and me. So, I again, I don't think there's people who are that sophisticated internally. I think there's a bunch of factions, and they're just not, they're just not minding the wheel. Yeah, maybe, maybe. Actually, that interesting you say that. So here's an interesting story about Bledsoe. So I'm not going to say that the podcaster is, but he has a following of something like 700,000, and I've had guests who've subsequently appeared on his show, and then I get some breadcrumbs from that, but those breadcrumbs are big breadcrumbs. Anyway, he kind of just texted me one day. He's just like, "What's going on with like? Are you having any? Can you find my channel on like the Bledsoe episode?" And I'm like, "Yeah." I type it in. I can't. No, I can't find it. So when you get over 100,000 subscribers, you get like a YouTube manager or a partner manager or something like that you can call and ask questions to, and they're supposed to help you out with your account. So he calls his manager, and he's like, "Is there something going on?" And she's like, "Yeah, your that episode's shadow banned." And he's like, "That's real?" She's like, "Yeah, that's real." And she's like, "Well," he's like, "Well, what happened?" And she kind of looked in her notes and she said, "Oh, it was something done at the executive level. I don't have any visibility." So what he thinks happens is there is somebody who Bledsoe readily says the person's name and says they work at Spacecom and NRO and things like that. And he used his name on the podcast. So this podcaster thinks that he said too much about this this specific or particular individual who works in the intelligence community, and they, the thing was getting enough views that it was becoming concerning, right? And I was, to this day, my Bledsoe episode is the highest, has my highest number of views, mainly because it got this huge acceleration after it appeared on this guy's podcast. So it is a thing. There is, if there's something that is related to national security, there are people from the government who can interface with people on the security side at any of these social media companies and just say, like, hey, cut it off. Like, just cut it off. And it's not as black and white as you think, right? I mean, during the last election, it was absolutely black and white, and what they did was criminal, frankly, by cutting people off from information that may have changed, with banning national newspapers from reporting the news, right, on Twitter, right? That was highly problematic. But there may be some cases, and I'll give you a real world example that I've never seen happen, but you could easily destabilize a major company, right? You could put out a rumor that some bank was failing, right? And like, get your money out as soon as you can. And the way that the banking system works is if enough people went and took money out of that bank, it would fail, right? Because the way that the national banking system works, they only keep a small percentage of their deposits in the bank at any given time. So when you have a run, so, there's a Federal Reserve has a reserve requirement. So each bank's required to keep, at any given time, they change it, but they might say 5% of, your capital has to be in the bank at any given time. The rest of it is just loaned out to different customers and things like that. So, if you created a credible rumor and broadcast it on social media, you could do untold damage to an economy and potentially cause it to collapse. So there is a good reason for them to have those that sort of red phone access, and also to protect somebody's identity. That makes good sense. So, all right, let's see. Sorry, that was a long thing I went through, but okay, we already did that, and I think we did that. Oh, but I never answered. Do I think I've been shadow banned? I don't know. The only data that the signal I get from YouTube is on their impressions. Impressions is how many times they show my videos to other people, and all the other metrics are good. Those are not good, and those are the only ones that I don't really have direct control over. But I can't say either way. I am frustrated, but I'm not somebody who tries to come up with excuses. I'm just not growing as fast as I like to grow. It's as simple as that. So all I can do is focus on what I do. I try to keep things non-political as much as I can. I know it slips out from time to time, because how can it not, given the kind of global clown show right now? If you're watching anything with, again, I'm going to keep this very general, but I've never seen a country go so crazy because a journalist is doing their job. It's baffling to me. Like, why wouldn't you want to talk to the other side in a conflict, right? I think we deserve to hear their point of view. So, like, I monitor Russian information sources, right? And I know when I monitor them, and Lynn Buchanan, for instance, he watches Russian TV just to keep his Russian current. And I don't monitor it because I'm on Russia's side. I monitor it because I want to see what kind of propaganda they're providing to their citizenry. I want to see how they're reacting to our sanctions. And I learn something from it every time I do. right? Because you put yourself in their position. What are they doing? And they're playing the game better than we are, right? Which started out as these really kind of unfair, like it's if you create the global system, which the U.S. effectively has since Bretton Woods, and then everybody's operating by these rules, and then you subvert the rules in order to make your sanctions regime even harsher, you're sowing the seeds of your own demise. And what do I mean by that? What I'm worried about is that we're going to moving to a situation where the dollar gets decoupled as the global reserve currency. And the moment that happens, this kind of easy living, and I know it's been hard for most Americans in the last 2 or 3 years, but it gets worse because it becomes untethered. Oil prices it gets a lot more complex. And if you set up the rules, you should abide by them, because if you don't, nobody else will want to be part of that system. So anyway, I just kind of want to hear Putin's point of view. And then the other thing too is I'll stop there because there's a debate about that I just don't have any good information on at this point. Okay, all right, I'm jumping ahead. Yeah, just me. I wouldn't have to work again if I were the only person that I had to worry about. I spend money on food and I reinvest in my business. So that just means you know, the biggest expense I might have is a laptop or, buying a camera. And that's it. It's like food and that. But I'm married, brother. So I'll just leave it at that. But she's been really cool about all this. Um, but I'm the breadwinner. There's no one else. There's no one else help, kind of contributing to the situation. Again, I'm not. This is not about me. This is just, it's just reality, right? You have to focus on that reality. And then I had a son that just got into Stanford, so it'll be interesting. It'll be fun times, but I'll figure it out. I always do. I've been through a lot worse, right? So, and I mean, yeah, making it sound like it's a bad thing. Look, I'm doing this is fun. Like I really like doing this. This is the best job I've ever had. Well, being a tanker may have been the best job I ever had, but this is the second best job, right? As much as I bitched and complained about it, just watch the movie Fury. It's actually on Netflix again. My old first sergeant helped train Brad Pitt and all that stuff in that movie. So the tactics and all that stuff is pretty sound. So watch it, but that's a common refrain, best job I ever had. It was fun, man. It was fun. Anyway, all right, here we go. Keep going. Wow. Yeah, I did the same. I think my father-in-law wanted me to sell his car, and I'm like, nah. And it's just like, well, if you pay the shipment cost to California, I'll just pay me the shipment cost. I'm like, okay. So I think I got it for. I'm super that stuff it doesn't matter that much to me, right? It's just as long as it's reliable. Actually, anytime I travel or go if I travel anywhere, I just rent a car, right? So I know it won't break down, and then I can extend the life of what I have for just local sorts of trips, and that tends to work. And then tip, if you return that thing, make sure it's pristine, because they'll give you gift cards and stuff like that. So if my wife rents a car, I get fines and charges. If I rent a car, I get an Amazon gift card almost every time. Yeah, Kat, you gotta call me afterwards, brother. I might, oh man, just the craziness that we went through. Oh, uh, yeah, I probably can say it. So if you ever watch yeah, so I'm not going to say much about it, but there is a Netflix documentary about the company Jewel. Okay, they emailed me before they made that documentary because I was there during the rise and I was also there during the fall, and Kent was there with me. and we both worked in finance, and it was just woo. But I signed all these non-disclosures, so that's all I'm going to say. But you got to see how government works. You got to see why politicians pay attention to certain things. I learned techniques for, how to make them go away. I didn't personally, but I got to observe it. And, our system is as corrupt or more corrupt than you can possibly imagine. Yeah, it is, brother. Yeah, he is a survivor. He's a funny man too. He is a funny man. Good old and Texan Chester. He's a Texan as well. Okay, all right. You're talking about the Thomas guy, because I know Ken ain't a UFO researcher. I know that for sure. Yeah, yeah. I mean, the only way that's a real thing is if we're not really in charge and there's some you know, higher species that is in the dark, non-human species that runs everything. And I'm not throwing out conspiracy theories. I'm just saying that we're just people aren't that smart in the aggregate, right? They can't keep a conspiracy running for that long. It's just not, unless you have a very small number of people, and if they leak anything, you shoot them, right? That's about the only way you can really keep a secret. Yeah, maybe. Every time I see Kent, I just think about all the stories. Yeah, yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. I don't. Again, I'm not going to try to get into politics, but I, yeah, I there's one side that I have an inveterate hatred for, and so I'm going to vote for the other side, and that's about it. But I'm not going to get into which side it is. But they're both not good options. I 100% agree. Um, but it could get spicy if they if they try to throw Trump in prison, because I don't know, the whole situation is just, I'm just bracing myself, and because it could get really spicy if the Chinese decide to roll the dice in April and attempt to take Taiwan. Then it gets really spicy, because in this kind of hyper partisan divide, imagine if you kind of roll out the draft. Imagine how that would, because this isn't going to be like in Vietnam, where half the country was like okay with it and they sent their sons to fight and die. This is going to be a situation where both sides are like, go F yourself. You send your kids first, and then we'll send somebody. Because that's kind of where it is right now. And it's not good. Yeah. I don't know. I think it was pretty good until maybe the Vietnam War, and then it started kind of, and it was okay during the Iraq War, not the Iraq War, the Persian Gulf War, and then it went back into the tubes um, after the, I think we probably should have left Afghanistan in 2011, and then we didn't. We kind of stayed along a little bit, and then the what's going on right now just accelerated because of the sheer incompetence of the withdrawal. Like, we should have withdrawn, but we should have done it in a much more orderly fashion. And that was a political thing. It wasn't a military thing. They're 10%. I don't know what you're talking about, Kent, but we'll figure it out. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, for the big guy. For the big. Yeah, I mean, you have like open corruption, and it's just like nothing to see here. Drive along. Yeah, 100%. 100%. Ah, Thomas Ferrario. Interesting. Yeah, now I'm intrigued, Alpha. I am definitely intrigued. Marley Woods. Yeah, he's a good dude. He is a good dude. Yep. Well, that's why they were like flying drones over the Kremlin. They being the Ukrainians. Um, yeah, the media is going out of their minds about that interview. Like, I mean, do we really want to like? We still want to. I mean, the Ukrainians are running out of men. The Russians are also like having like it's time to talk. Like, just settle this thing. You know, like what are we doing? It's just it's completely absurd. So yeah. Anyway, I'll just leave it at that. Yes, yes. I didn't want to say the name because I'm worried I'll get some shadow banning too. But I will put the name on the screen. Yeah, I would do it, but I have to. I'm gonna be in that like region of the country. I think in June, so I might reach out. I might reach out, but yeah, I tried a weird experiment. Again, I'll I'm afraid to say this, but I will anyway because it's just acknowledge that this could just be pure coincidence. Okay, just take it for what it is. I'm not saying it's something mystical, but it could be something mystical, or it could be just sheer coincidence. So when I was about to go to the same location last year, I kind of just said a quick prayer. I said, "Look, I'm going to sit down on that bench. I was up in like a park behind my house. I'm going to sit on that bench, and I'm thinking about reaching out to Bloodsoe to see if I can go visit his, and ask if I could visit his ranch or his home to see these orbs and things like that. And when I sit down, just show me a sign if it's a good idea this year, okay?" So I go over to the bench, I sit down immediately, and I actually have it on camera because I couldn't believe, it was just like so strange. And I included it in one of my patrons, introductory videos. And you can see it's passing really fast, but if you watch the video at the end of not this video, but every interview that I do, every podcast that I do, it's just basically like the 5 minute advertisement that everybody skips and should skip if they like regular watchers. But there's a video in one of the boxes, and you see the snake that I saw. I literally like sat down, looked down, and there was a snake. Now it was a California king snake, so it was completely harmless. But I'm like, whoa, probably I think that means no. And then I looked up, and there like these butterflies are circling around my head, and I also caught it on camera. So my interpretation of that, if it meant anything, right, and I fully acknowledge it could just random, it could be random chance. My view was no, not now, but not a bad idea. Think about doing it later. So we'll see. We'll see. The problem is I'm when I send him emails, I go through an intermediary, and you know they might decide to not pass the message on, or they could say no. But if I do it, it'll be in like June. Huh. Yeah, I know. Yeah, there's pictures and everything in that book, UFO of God. They're everywhere, and for some reason, nobody else says anything. So, uh, I think that like he can get away with it, but I don't like. If you notice, Diana Walsh Pasulka never says the guy's name; still calls him Tyler Durden. Yeah, I believe that. Yeah, he when I was interviewing him, he had a meeting. He couldn't say what, but I just said, "Oh, Hollywood," and he just kind of smiled. So that makes sense. Yep, fractional reserve lending practices. Correct. Yeah, that sounds about right. Because keep in mind, they can just print, not literally print, but create money by pressing a button. But the thing is, there's still laws of supply and demand. So if you print too much money, you have kind of crazy inflation that we did have. Not saying it. Not saying it. Huh. Oh, well, it could be Anthony. Could be if he's on Facebook, right? Because This is streaming from a variety of. This is streaming out to Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. So he just might be on one of those platforms, and it's all being ingested by StreamYard. That's probably why you're not seeing it. What's the guy? Feel free to put the name of your channel in the chat so people can check it out. Definitely be interested in learning more about it. Yep. Let's see. It's. I don't understand it, but I know why it's happening. Right? There's some people in this country who want to control the narrative so tightly, like they have to have like an evil villain, and then they have to have it's just. I think that's what it is. And they're also jealous too. They're jealous that he was able to get an interview and they weren't. Funny you mentioned that. So the guy who wrote my recommendation to business school was number 2 at the Department of Homeland Security. And I haven't spoken to him since, but I spoke to a mutual friend, and he basically said it's political. So the Democrats don't want to touch it because they don't want to be called, they don't want to be called or be construed as quote unquote racist. Okay. So they're dealing with that own poison pill that they all swallowed. On the right, the Republicans don't want to deal with it because it makes the Democrats look like buffoons, right? So they're also enabling the situation because they have no incentive to stop this because it makes the other party look incompetent. So that's really why this kind of stuff is happening. I don't know how easy it is to stop, but we could certainly be doing a better job. But here's the thing. There are some northern cities that are allowing these migrants to vote in municipal elections. So non-U.S. citizens are going to be allowed to vote in municipal, like local and municipal elections in certain states. Obviously not in red states, but so it just feeds into the conspiracy theories that they're just being brought in to, help sway an election, things like that. But they shouldn't technically be able to vote in a federal election. But anyway. Chester, I love you, brother. Thank you. Thank you for that. I very much appreciate. Very much. Well, yeah, I think the entire it's just a mess, man. It is a mess. You got Houthi and the blowfish in freaking Yemen flying over the Red Sea, closing, disrupting shipping lanes, all this stuff. Look, if there's a year that could be China's year, it's 2024. Like, this is the year they could probably have the best chance of taking Taiwan if they chose to do it. Will they be able to take it? I don't know, but in the short run, it would be pretty ugly for them. But if they could take it and hold on to it, I think we'll have so much internal trouble with them trying to impose a draft, because they would have to impose a draft. Like, there aren't enough people signing up to serve in the military, and it's almost exactly equal to let's just say they've alienated certain demographic groups, and those demographic groups aren't signing up. And I'm not making this up. There's a Military Times article about the recruiting shortage, and you can look it up, but I'm not going to go there. But it's pretty obvious what's happening. Oh yeah. I mean, and look, Putin's is also gonna spin this too, right? Like, he's not he's not like blameless, right? So whatever he puts out, and he's smart, right? He's gonna talk about all this woke stuff, and like, and there's gonna be a lot of stuff that resonates with a lot of Americans. But you have to understand, like, he's saying that he's going to have a message that puts his situation in the best possible light and that manipulates and puts our situation in the worst possible light. So you have, like, anytime you listen to a US politician or a Russian politician, you have to, listen to what they say. You also have to watch what they do. And then you also have to think about what their motivations are, right? So let's take an example. Like, why did Chuck Schumer suddenly show up at Juul, right? And start going after us at Juul when I was at that company? Well, it's pretty simple. If you just do the analytics and look at what was happening, to the state of New York when we were disrupting the cigarette trade, right? That was a huge source of tax revenue for New York. So boom, 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 whatever his motivations, right? Just make sure the state got adequate taxes. It wasn't about the children. It wasn't about this and that. But you just have to, like, look and figure out where these people are coming from. So, yeah, I mean, I think it'll be interesting to see where old Vlad comes out. But again, he's not a good guy. So he's got his own interests, and his own interests come first. The interest of Russia comes second. And in the United States, the interest of our politicians come first. And the interest of our politicians come second, and the interest of our politicians come third. So just always keep that in mind. I mean, like, they can still trade on material non-public information, right? Like, I think, like, one of the best hedge funds in the United States is the U.S. Congress, right? So, like, we have jumped the shark in terms of being able to trust our quote unquote betters, right? At this point, the people, like, you can't even run for Congress unless there's something, like, wrong with you, unless you're like a malignant narcissist. So anyway, there's maybe one or two good people there. Like, I'll take Burchett. Burchett's a good man, but the rest of them, yep, yeah, no, no, no. There's, like, the one, no effing way. Like, if we don't follow our own rules, like, the Chinese sure as hell, like, they're all for following the rules until they're in charge, and then it's different rules for me than for thee, right? There's a, if you watch the Sean McFate thing, you see this. Just watch this movie, this documentary called American Factory, and that'll teach you everything you need to know. Yeah, I gotta. Yeah, I'm not trying not to talk about personal stuff. Let's see. It's a good movie. Good movie. Um, it's very good at destroying things. I think that's why the government, like, that's why the military is so effective. That's why the military is the most effective institution in the government, because its sole job is to destroy things, right? But the other parts of government that are create, that intend to help, just destroy things. So yeah, I wouldn't. I don't think, like, again, I don't think they're not that smart. They're just self maximizing. Like, when you're watching corruption and process, the only lens you need is if you look at kind of the actions that a particular senator or congressperson takes, just ask yourself, what do they get out of it? And you'll understand how it all works after that. Right? They're just self maximizers. Huh. Interesting. Oh yeah, this is the Cliff High stuff. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, a lot of this stuff is just out in the open. Yeah, they do a lot of stuff in plain sight. Eh, there are different factions in every situation, right? I think people in the military are generally going to be the highest integrity people in government until they get to current, until they get to like general. When they get to general, there's a politicization process that makes them a little bit less trustworthy. But people colonel and below are generally good people. Yeah. Huh. What part of the country do you live in, Guy? Yeah, it's a good question for Guy. Wow. Yeah, Guy, put your seriously put your YouTube channel up on the in the comments so people can check it out. Mm, okay, we'll have to check it out. So Guy Merritt, check it out. Ah, I don't know, man. I look, he's Herrera's a former Marine, right? And I'm a former Army officer, and a lot of soldiers that you have are kind of bullshitters, and not all of them, but some of them. But I don't know. He kind of I could be wrong. I haven't looked too much into it, but he strikes me as kind of like I don't know. I don't want to say I don't want to say never, but um, when you just look at somebody and you're like, no, that's the feeling I get. That doesn't mean it's right, right? I could be completely wrong. I haven't spent any time investigating that particular thing, but my spidey sense tingles when I see that guy talk. But I've been around soldiers and I've been around, so I don't know. Let's see. Huh. Yeah. Yeah, there's also a place called Butler's Wash in Utah. That's the place he always talks about. So when he claimed he was going to go there. I don't know if that ever happened, but we'll see. Yeah, no, it seemed to be fine. I don't notice any. I mean, misspellings and stuff like that. I can, I know that word was apologies. You don't have to retype it. Like stuff, it's fine. Huh? Yeah, I'm not. No weird blue lights for me. The best I can do is just. I mean, you just ask Chester. Chester was on a Patreon stream with me this weekend, and I apparently I have a lot of Like I have so many synchronicities. But nothing crazy happens to me. That's like like an entity shows up in my room. I just have like synchronicities, crazy stuff. Yeah, Putin may very well be. Yeah, that's true. I highly recommend the Joe McMoneagle interview. There's some gems in that one. He also recommended Angela Ford uh, to Sean. It's the Sean Ryan podcast, right? But he also recommended Angela Ford. He being Joe McMoneagle. that she appear on the show. And there's not a lot of interviews of her out there. I've done 3, so I'm hoping she appears there too. Both would be great, but Bledsoe might still be, um, stuff associated with him might be slightly shadow banned right now. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in there. How come you guys all see stuff? I don't see shit. I may have seen like an orb once, like just like fly over my. There's like an episode on that, but I don't even know what that was. Right? For all the most mundane thing I could come up with. It sure as hell wasn't a drone, wasn't an aircraft. Wasn't the only conventional thing I could think of would be if like a bunch of teenagers had like a Batman style spotlight at the front of my house. But that's the only conventional explanation I could come up with. But I think that's the extent. That's probably the strangest thing. But stuff that happens to me is always plausibly deniable, right? You could easily convince yourself it's something pedestrian. Yeah. Is there really that many chats? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Hey baby, it's me 333. I tried that on the outskirts of Skinwalker Ranch, and the only thing that happened to me is that the wind blew a chair into the fire at me when I was sleeping. But that's about it. I think it's just an energy transition. I think a lot of the orbs that you see are souls, right? It's kind of like plasmas, and then you just kind of go to the great light in the sky and have a life review and all that stuff. That seems to be the most common explanation that people who have near death experiences seem to undergo. So that's kind of where I am right now. Huh. I can't believe I'm that far behind. Let's see. Okay. I think I answered that one. Yeah, night vision will run you pretty expensive. Yeah, yeah, I'm like I have synchronicity so many times that I just I mean it's like it doesn't really like the way I met Olaf, right? The guy I interviewed. Uh Chester gave me that secret cipher thing, and I filled out my name, got all the stuff about the Hawks and that sort of thing. And and then I'm like, oh, I want to look at this book. I saw this book about the secret cipher, so I looked up the publisher of the book, and his the address was a mile from my house. So like stuff like that happens to me routinely. Let's see. Wow. Yeah, consciousness is probably non-local. I agree with that. I mean, I think that's what there was a physicist who won the Nobel Prize who determined that. Huh. All right, I think I'm through all the comments. You guys had me worried that I wasn't caught up. Here we go. Oops. Yeah. Yeah, who knows? It's like if there's if there's a tree in the woods and it falls, it was anybody there to did anybody hear it? Did it make a sound? And I think what kind of non-locality would tell you is not only did it not fall, there was no forest if there was no one to observe it. Yeah. Caught up. All right. So what did I even? We were talking channel news, and then I ended up. I was talking about the radio station. So next episode's going to be Morehouse. I don't know beyond that. I might reach out to Lynn Buchanan, but we'll see. But I still have to get a few guests that I intend to reach out to. So there's yeah, I appreciate like I'm just answering. You guys are making it easy. Like I'm trying to go so fast. Holy crap! An hour and 5 minutes. Like where did the time go? I felt like because I had just a few small things to talk about, and you guys all made it easy to get through a lot of this stuff. And then I got Chambliss on there, you know, up to no good as always. That's a great question. So I'm kind of caught between, and again, I don't have any firm. The more I dig into this stuff, the less I feel like I know. I just know that there's something that there are things that we don't see that interact with our reality. It could just be greater aspects of ourselves that we just don't recognize that are just part of this whole experience. It could be other entities, and there could be a variety of other entities from um, things that are actual physical beings, but they just their atoms resonate at higher frequencies, or they're some form of plasma. Just things that we don't see that can kind of insert themselves into the physical reality and out of. We could all be part of a simulation, but I think there are certain rules that these things have, and I think if you encounter one, I'm not like a super diehard practicing Catholic, but if I saw some signs, I would certainly go to my church because they have an exorcism rite or ritual and things like that that appears to work, at least based on people I've interviewed, like Dr. Thigpen, who's been in the room for these sorts of things. But if you have demons, you also have angels, and I don't even know if they are like if they are what theology would traditionally classify. But I think they are entities, and there's some entities that want to do us harm, and there are some entities that want us to grow and develop. So you take the things that Bledsoe's interacting with, right? I think those are probably a force for a force for good. But there are other things too, like they'll do when I did my Steve Mera interview. You'll see this on Monday, but there was a situation where there was a family that they had a daughter went off to school, and they started having all these paranormal events like poltergeist activities, and then their daughter turned up missing. So they thought, well, maybe it's our daughter, and then she showed up like an apparition of their daughter, kind of showed up in the room, and then a few weeks later their daughter returns to them, their living daughter who had just kind of shacked up with somebody and was in love with somebody and just left and wasn't talking to the family. So whatever was in their house was mimicking her daughter. So there's a lot of weird, creepy stuff that's related to all this. But anyway, again, it's not a great answer, but I certainly wouldn't like to mess with one. Yeah, but I was listening to a Peter Lavenda interview today, and what's her name? Tituba was this. I think she's frequently presented as an African slave, but she was an Indian slave. Like there were people who were practicing occult rituals and stuff like that in Salem at that time, right? Now, was it the devil? Was it who knows? But it wasn't like all these well, I mean, they probably were innocent, but people were actually practicing some, occult rituals. So it wasn't just kind of like, oh, well, let's just blame. It got out of hand, clearly, but I don't think it was as black and white as we've been fed to believe. Yeah, maybe. What do like angels feed on happy energy and demons on fear? Is that what it is? So what are they? ETs? Is that what you're or just non-human intelligences, guy? Yeah, here's the thing Steve Mera told me too. It's probably not in the interview, but his advice was to always keep going until and kind of just kind of go with the flow, because the moment you're kind of going in the wrong direction, uh, whatever it is, we'll let you know. We'll let you know. And so I asked him, well, when do you get stopped up when you do these researches? He's just like, whenever we delve into Sumerian demonology, we bad things start to happen, and we get kind of knocked off the path. And I kind of asked him, well, what about that? And he's just like, I don't know. I just we just get ourselves into trouble when we start looking into that in any serious way. Yeah, I he's one of the people I want to get. I mean, we talked about this, Chester, but I was doing some background research before I reached out to him because I didn't want to be completely ignorant. Because I interview so many people, I can't read every book. I usually read books after the fact. I mean, I try to, but it's too much. I have like a stack of books directly in front of me that are, it's out of control. Huh. I watched an interview about his book Sinister Forces, and that's in fact that's where I got that factoid about the Salem witch trials. There's some crazy stuff. Huh. Yeah. I've definitely been more positive lately, and I've been seeing nothing but good things. Right. Again, my thing is animals like owls and ravens and hawks. Like I see them routinely, hummingbirds routinely. Um, but I live in like right up next to the back of a park, so I mean they are in the neighborhood. Also, coyotes almost every night. It actually comforts me a little bit. I wake up to owls sometimes that are just hooting in the darkness, pre morning. Oh yeah, no, I think you're right, guy. I think a lot of this stuff is quantum mechanical, right? It's basic quantum mechanics, right, with a double slit experiment. Like some of this stuff, you if you look at it, it the electron it you only see one electron, but if you're not looking at it, it's a wave, right? It's a particle versus a wave. Hey, how you doing, Moon Man? It's been an interesting, very interesting night. I haven't had to like come up with any material because people are asking really good questions. I know he's got a crazy, and there's something about that guy. Like he and it's probably like he just reeks of like the intelligence community. Like he's somehow entwined with it. Um, which is not a good or a bad thing. It's just my sense. It's what my spidey sense says about him. Yeah, ask anybody's wife. We're always wrong. Huh. Thank you, guy. I appreciate that. Because I don't know anything. That's the thing. Like that's the first leap that people. The more I delve into this topic, there's two things pulling at me, or two tensions. The first tension is if you go too deep into this, you'll go mad, right? And there's a podcaster this week, and I'm not gonna because I actually feel bad for him, but he it appears that he's kind of going a little nuts. And but that's like, for me, that's kind of a cautionary tale. If you take this thing too deep, and it could be that um, a certain faction might target you, right? If you have like a big channel with lots of influence and you're saying things that threatens, that, not literally threaten somebody, but threaten an agenda, and it's a national security thing, no one's going to think anything of just dropping some LSD into your coffee and having you go nutso during a live stream, right? So on the one hand, you have to take everything with a grain of salt, and you have to remain open to different possibilities, because the moment you calcify an idea or a belief, then you're stuck, right? And you're going to be forced to fight whatever that is. So on the other hand, you have to remain open to people's experiences, because there are some people who've had fantastical experiences that might be true. So you have to open yourself to the possibility that there are things that we can't possibly understand. And by the way, eventually they probably all be explained by science. Maybe it's just something can spontaneously organize and reorganize its electron profile, right? And shapeshift that way. Who knows? But anybody who comes to you and says they have all the answers, the only thing I can be certain of is that they don't have all the answers. And that's it. Yeah. Well, I've had to work on that all my life. Yeah. Yeah, none of us, we know some stuff, but yeah, I think it's all related in some way. I just don't quite know how. The simplest explanation is it's a simulation. And these things can just be generated at will by the administrator of the simulation, or the architect of the simulation. I I don't necessarily believe that. I actually don't want to believe that, because it's a little depressing to me, but it's a possibility. Yeah, I haven't even looked. I was there, so I don't need to I don't need to watch it again. By the way, he wrote my favorite short story. It's called The Jaunt, by Stephen King. It is a wild story, and it's kind of like science fictional horror. All right, how we doing on? Whew. All right, what else do people want to know? Uh, did I even have? So the last substantive thing. Oh yeah, yeah. I didn't even get a chance to say this. So I was still on channel news. I didn't really. I kind of just. I did talk about upcoming episodes a little bit, but that's all I have. But also in channel news, you'll notice I've been doing a lot of shorts lately. That's not for you guys. If you're into that sort of thing, great. But I need to grow the channel, and you all know. I think you saw in that presentation that I delivered, I think last month. I said I was going to do about over 100 of them this year, just to try to grow the channel a little bit faster. By the way, it's been a complete and utter failure. Just so you know, if you just look at the counts, they're awful. They're terrible. But my sense is you just have to do. It's like spray and pray. You just have to just do a bunch of them. And I don't. I just take like the intros that I already do for my videos, and I just package them and have a process so I can make a short in like 5 minutes and then upload it. It's pretty lazy on my end, but I don't like shorts. I don't like to watch them. I don't like to, but I just use those teaser pieces to build them. So it's not a lot of additional work, but If you're wondering why I'm doing it, that's why I'm doing it, because they say you'll grow faster if you do it, and they have all the data. So let's see. Yeah, but I think we know more than we all think. Yeah. Oh God, that's terrifying. Because I know even less than you, just me. And if it looks like I know what the hell I'm talking about, I don't. I'm a moron. I have no clue. Yeah. Again, I'm not. It is what it is. I can only control what I can control. I'll get there. Like it's been accelerating. Although I think today was a bad. Let me see how I did today. Today was I think a pretty bad sub day. Yeah, today was a disaster. Yesterday was awesome. So I think yesterday I got 43 subs. That's a good day. Today, for no reason that I can detect, today I have 7. That is a not a great day, but it's still up. It's still in the right direction. Let's see. Yeah, I try to do like super high quality. The thing is, if people click on them, they watch a lot. My issue is they don't click on them. Who knows? It depends on what a UFO is. Is it living? Is it a machine? Is it all is it many different varieties? I don't know. Huh. I don't think I ever interviewed Jeff Reynolds at all. Yeah, one could say time is simultaneous, just on different frequencies. It's like tuning a radio. Yeah, you can't always control what happens to you, but you can control it. The only thing you can control is how you react to it. Ken, how much you think we're gonna get from that company? By the way, let's see. No, I haven't yet. Yeah, he seems like super opinionated about certain things, right? Like he's aggressively anti remote viewing, and it's like it works. It might not work the way you think it works. I think would be my answer to that. Yeah, well, if I can get, I think I'm going to interview John Brandenburg again. We might go into an entire episode as to why they are not the best aliens, why they are the worst aliens, but we'll see. Yeah, yeah, or they could be many different things, right? Some of them could be technology, some of them could be souls. Who knows? Oh, thank you, brother. What about Jeff Mara? I mean, I'm aware of his. He's got like a gigantic YouTube channel. It's over 100,000 subscribers. Yeah, Moonman sent me an article today about apparently there's some sort of governor in your frontal lobe of your brain that actually is a filter that if you not scar it, but if you mess with it with electromagnetic radiation, people exhibit it's like a filter that prevents you from engaging in kind of these psychic abilities. If you disable it, apparently in the lab they were able to demonstrate. Now I don't know what the source of the article was, right? So I can't attest. I didn't have a lot of time to do any diligence on it, but I wouldn't be shocked. Yeah, yeah, probably. Because we'd just be diluted out of existence basically, because they had to sell stuff to make money. Yeah, they're the real deal. All of them are the real deal. Like they actually served with the government, um, doing that. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I don't think it's a psyop. I mean, I could be wrong. I'm not gonna like defend that to the death though. You always have to have that in mind that you could be wrong, um, because if you don't, you're gonna have you'll have to deal with cognitive dissonance, and that's not a fun thing to confront. Yeah, Kent, you could do it too. Everybody can do it. You just have to practice. Huh. Yeah, I sometimes think that when like Ramirez, like John Ramirez, the former CIA guy, uh, the channeler Bashir. Again, I haven't had any channelers on. I'm not sure where I sit with that. So I'm a little bit shy about bringing kind of going that far out there on a limb. But him, who else? Bledsoe. They're all saying that there's some event or something's supposed to happen in 2026, 2027. I'm thinking it's just like one of these major UFO flaps, right? But it could be something else. But that's if we survive. If we survive that long. Yep. Oh yeah, I didn't. I never interviewed Jeff Morrow. But I know who he is for sure. Oh really? You should go back on. Yeah, I'd say there's like a 0.1% chance it's a psyop, right? Like I'll allocate that probability in my mind, but I doubt it's a psyop. Huh. Yeah, I just in that interview of the Sean Ryan show when he was talking about um Joe McMonagle was talking about quieting his mind. I have that issue too. Right? It's just not something I can really do. Ah, okay, yeah. I interview. He comes on all the time. In fact, he was just on Jimmy Church's show actually. I think yesterday or the day before. Yesterday, yeah. It's all right. You're never old, boring, or tired. It's all in your head. Yeah, I haven't done anything with cryptids or anything like that. Um, I feel I'm kind of the type of person who just want to go out into the wilderness and see if I can see one. But yeah, I haven't. Who knows what a lot of this stuff is. Yeah, and I think we all can kind of do it. Like sometimes you'll just have a very strong feeling about a particular characteristic of an environment. Um, I have a friend who saw something in a classified context, and I told him the color of the floor of the facility he was talking about, and I freaked him out. And I just, again, I'm not trying to remote viewer, but I just had a very strong feeling that it was a certain color. And he was just like, how the hell did you know that? I'm like, I just, I don't know. I could just kind of see it. Huh. Yeah, I mean, I would hope it would be an experience where it's unambiguous. That's the problem. Like if you see something from a distance, it's much easier for pareidolia to strike. Well, maybe that's exactly why it happened to you, right? Like, why would they appear to Whitley Strieber, right? He was like a science fiction, or he's like a science fiction and horror writer, right? He's a fiction writer. It's plausibly deniable, right? So people would just dismiss it as, oh, it's just he's just being creative. He's just writing a story. With you, they would the it would be harder for you to talk about it because you're either a psychologist or you work in that field, and that's something that is a big no-no to talk about. It would instantly destroy your credibility in that field. So maybe that's why whatever visited you chose to visit you, because you couldn't say anything about it without harming your livelihood. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. I felt the same thing. It's exactly the same thing. All right, brother. You take care. Always good. Always good to see that smiling mug. I even hear you talking in my head. Like that's how well I remember you. So all right, brother. Peace out. Yeah, there's some weird stuff in Alaska, man. There's actually it's an older set of interviews, and he's a horror writer. His name's Laird Barron, but he used to compete in the Iditarod. So he had like a dog sledding team and stuff like that. I've interviewed him 3 times. But there is an episode where we talk about some of the strange stuff that he saw in the Alaskan wilderness. And, I encourage you to watch it. His name's Laird Barron. I'm just going to type it in so people can look him up. But he's a tremendous writer, but he's also got some crazy stories. Um, like real stories, in addition to like horror stories that he's written. Ah, yeah. Uh, okay, so that's another synchronicity today. Gurdjieff came up in there was in the Lavenda interview that I was listening to, and I think he's connected to Crowley in some way, which I never knew. And he's connected to Crowley, and then Whitley Strieber was part of this Gurdjieff group, and it also comes up in a lot of the flaps back in the last century. So the web continues to weave itself in interesting ways. Yeah, like, share, and subscribe. Obviously, I appreciate all that stuff. I definitely need to grow. Oops. Wow. Yeah, but it was like amateur hour. It's like the amateur hour episode. Uh, yeah, and the other thing too is so we're like just even the videos, like the way that I put the name under and all that stuff, they're just cringe. They're just cringe. Maybe someday I'll redo them, like using the current stuff that I like, the current overlays that I have and stuff like that. Like I actually paid somebody to do those overlays, and they charged me like $20, and I'm like, dude, this is like really good. I'll just pay you 50. Like, you should be charging more for this stuff because. And I don't pay anybody. I don't pay anybody to do anything for the most part. I do everything myself. That's the one thing I didn't do, was those overlays that you see in my interviews. Even the design of the Through a Glass Darkly, the same guy designed that. He designed all these things, and he's going to charge me like $20. I'm like, man, this thing's worth $200, like minimum. You could charge a lot more. So I'll pay you 50 just to. Anyway, that was the only kind of art or anything else I paid for. Most of it, like all the thumbnails and stuff like that, I do. But I just needed like something a little bit more professionally done. Um, the music. Oh yeah, so I used that like Carl Casey. There's this guy's got like a YouTube channel, and he if you buy the iTunes, he lets people use it license free. So that's where I get my intro and stuff like that. The other music that I have subscription with Storyblocks, and then so I'm able to use that. I just pay like an annual fee, and then I can use whatever I want on their server royalty free. So all the music that I play in this podcast is from that. Huh. Yeah, it's almost like if the phenomenon recognizes you, then it starts to do things. How big was that sucker? Just me? Let's see. But yeah, I've never seen nothing that was like obvious. No, but I have heard of like balls of light showing up in disaster areas. Like during Fukushima, they were all over the place apparently. My guess is if we think that they're kind of how souls transition, maybe there's all the people who were dying. I don't know. That would be like my working theory, but I've done no scientific tests or anything like that to measure the energy or whatever. So so that would just be a theory. Wow. Did you feel like you could have approached it, or was it like would it be like approaching a gorilla? Huh. All right. How are we doing on time? Make a pretty good time. Probably give it until the top of the hour or something before I go. Okay, we already seen that one. Um, what other shows do you guys like to watch? So maybe I can draw some inspiration. Let's see. Huh. All right. Good night, brother. I'll talk to you soon. I still have to reach out to the two people that I think that we identified that. Um. Huh. Interesting. Yeah, it could be portals as well. You know, where people are just transitioning into the next realm or whatever you want to call it. But what other shows are people watching that they um, should be getting ideas for guests from and things like that? Because that's the other thing that is kind of a pain is sometimes just getting guests. Because I've had enough good guests that people will take a risk, but I don't have enough guests where you know I don't really do something for a guest in the sense of like exposure or reach yet. Huh. Did it see you? Yeah. Or again, it could be portals. Could be portals for souls. Could be UFOs, like probes. Who knows? Yeah. Dreamland is definitely shadow banned. When I saw he only had like 24,000 subscribers, I was shocked. And I think on day one, the moment he started his YouTube channel, he got an email from YouTube that basically said that you are demonetized, so he can't even monetize the channel. Yeah, I like theories of everything too. I think that's a good. I actually met Kurt. I met Kurt at Soul Foundation. He's very, very, very good guy. He's a great guy, and I asked him for some advice, and he sent me a nice, thoughtful email. He's a good dude. I don't know if I think I'm aware of it, but I don't think I've watched it that often. I should probably check it out. Huh. Yes, it sounds like you unasked the area, as we used to say. Huh. Yeah, he's a good dude. Yeah. That is kind of weird stuff. I mean, there was what's his name? Why am I not remembering his name? It's like Anthony something or other that I interviewed recently. He's the Red Light Demons interview that I did. There's another interview before that with him that I did where there's a he talked a lot about I call it the Romans called it genius loci, which is kind of the spirit of a place. There's a lot of that too, like in the wilderness with Laird Barron. He doesn't quite come out and say it, but there's a lot of that in Alaska. Huh? That's super creepy. Oh, really? Who? The police deleted them? Yeah, I've tried I've tried to reach out to Ryan. Nothing. Maybe I'll try again. Diana, I've tried 6 ways to Sunday to reach out to her. I feel like there's like a whisper network out there, and for some reason I'm on some list or something. And I don't know why. I don't know. But I've reached out to her multiple times, never got a response ever. So, I'll keep trying. Same thing with like Travis Taylor. Never get a response. I'm trying to think who else. Um, Anybody who's kind of synced in with the intelligence community, aside from Chris Bledsoe, they tend to avoid me. And I don't know if it's because I have more knowledge than average about that world, or if it's just I don't know. Oh, wow. Yikes. I'm glad you're okay. Darius J. Right. Okay. I also did a huge, not huge, but I did I think 2 or 3 videos with Preston Dennett. Preston, while he covers all this UFO stuff, he also, before my last interview, actually, he told me he's been doing a lot of OBE stuff recently. So we talked a lot about that, and I've read all of Robert Monroe's these 3 books. I've never been able to do it myself. I've tried, but I just, at least consciously that I know of. Um, I think it's probably real. I just have been unsuccessful myself. Wow. Huh. I wouldn't be surprised about that. Yeah. Yeah. The J name I would love to talk to, but I think the moment I had him on the show, I think it would never grow again. He's probably on some list. Is my Unfortunately for him. Yeah, yeah. Again, anybody who claims to know everything, increase that skepticism meter. Huh. Do you know who our special friend? Oh, say more. I mean, I'm obviously familiar with the future forecasting group, but I don't know who our special friend is. No, it's just what February is. It's like, and I couldn't come up with anything better from last year, so I just went with it. Yeah, I'm just the Let's Go Brandon one. I want to know what this special friend thing is, but I can always ask when I talk to those guys next. Um, for some reason, I think Reardon likes me for some reason. I don't know why. I'm just a knucklehead, but it's probably why he likes me. But anyway, thank you, Kira. All right. Ugh. Yeah, thank you, Guy. And everybody just do a search in YouTube for Guy Merritt, Guymerritt, and check out his channel and see some of the stuff that he's presenting. Oh, interesting. Oh, so like a ooh, that's interesting. Yeah, I mean, and why should they? You know? Yeah, I think Dolly's a good person. She she just has a lot of certainty about a lot of things, and it might be true. It might be true. But like I said, if everybody's insistent on knowing everything, they might. But then again, you know, just take everything with a grain of salt. Yeah, so I mean, see, the problem is once someone appears on Joe Rogan, it, it's hard to entice them to come to a channel of like 4,500 subscribers, right? If I get into like 30,000, it's like okay, maybe. Um, but to really be able to sell yourself as the like, you want to be able to sell to people why they could be on your channel. Like you'll have lots of reach, and if you have over 100,000 subscribers, you can easily make that argument. But if you don't, I mean, I'm surprised I was able to get some of them when I had less than 100. I got really lucky to meet Morehouse early on, and that we jived pretty well together. If I hadn't done that, who knows? I'd probably still be, you know, mu- much smaller than I already am. Nice. Thank you, just me. Yeah, I that's the thing. Like in doing this channel, you realize that everything you believe is because somebody told you that it's true, right? For the most part. I mean, fire is hot because you touched a hot plate and, you know, you got burned. So, like, that's knowledge. But a lot of what we believe what we know is really what we believe. And it's because we read books and we did this and that. So, when you're dealing with this sort of topic, you can believe a lot, but you don't really know until you confront it directly. And some people have, and some people haven't. So it's hard for the people who haven't to believe the people who have. And that's kind of the fundamental issue with reality right now. So, okay, we're just back in that thing. Yeah, who knows? Who knows? Because, I doubt any of us have been there, right? So how do you know? I'm not saying that there's not one, but somebody could say there is one. How would I know? What other shows do people like to watch? Like, there's a few people I wouldn't mind interviewing from Theories of Everything, but again, some people just don't respond when you reach out to them. Oh yeah, there's that guy who claims to have worked there. Um, yeah, I don't know what to make of him because again, people can, uh, you know, there's people who've experienced some really strange stuff. There's people that experienced or think they've experienced some really strange stuff and they're just crazy. There's people who are hoaxing, and then there are people from the intelligence community that are spreading disinformation, right? And it's just hard to piece out or tease out which that's some of that stuff is true. Yeah, and that's kind of what I've been doing. I just approach them, and if they say no, I mean, I would appreciate if they said no. Actually, what's the most frustrating is you just send this thing out into the void, and nobody responds, nobody says anything. That's where it gets really painful. Yeah, well, but there's also morphic resonance too, right? The whole Sheldrake thing, where there's a reason you'll see like 12 disaster movies. Mark Pasio, oh, he must be the person from the what was it? The Antarctica piece, I'm guessing. Huh. Yeah, I think reality is more mysterious than most of us realize. It's just breaking through all the other stuff. So that's the thing. Like once you start talking about this stuff publicly, people, like serious people, will come to you who you've known all your life and will tell you their own personal stories. And you know, I know of one that was like, holy crap. And I won't repeat it because if I said anything about it, um, you wouldn't see me again. And I'll just leave it at that. Yeah, I've seen that. I've definitely attended some of them. I just don't know if anybody would like jump on. You know, it would be kind of weird. But yeah, maybe I should try that. Okay. Yeah. You've owned nothing, and you will eat the bugs. Right? That sort of thing. Vitriolic rhetoric. Okay. Oh, this is a show. Vitriolic rhetoric. All right. I can check that out. Sorry, I have to like Eon bite. That's why I have to go back and forth to like try to contextualize. Because I'll say something, there might be a comment that's related to what I say. Somebody else wrote something, and somebody else is reacting to that comment, and I have to like do the mental math to try to piece together, you know, is it related to what I said or is it what somebody else said, et cetera, et cetera. What on earth is happening? Okay, I'm just putting that up there so everybody can see it. I'm going to leave it there for a second because I'm going to type it into my. Or I just want to take. CO. Oh yeah, it's like a podcast. Oh yeah, he's doing pretty well. That is a big channel. All right, I'll share that just so that people can find it. You know, no skin off my back if people check out other good podcasts. Let's see. Now I gotta find my way back to this one. I know you're all watching me, but here we go. Uh oh. Yeah, I gotta not yell. Oh, interesting. Okay. All right, I see what you're saying. Rather than start one of my own, just get up and start talking. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Huh. He's got that weird little. All right, let's see. All right, let me see if I can let's see. Share screen. All right, so this is. Can you all see this? Yes. All right, so I'll play a little bit of it. but not too much. If I can only find it again. I have like a million things open right now. Okay. So anytime I share, then I have to actually find it again. Maybe it's here. Nope. And nope. And nope. All right, maybe I won't be sharing that. Oh, here it is. All right, let's not play any music because, as you can imagine,
art. This is the artwork for this episode, and we'll be doing many parts to this expose of the unholy feminine in an extended capacity. I'm expecting it to run at least 6 weeks, maybe longer, but that's my guesstimate about how long this will take to go through, and we'll be doing a couple of call-in shows at least on the topic. So I don't know if I'll get to calls today. Maybe, perhaps. I may do some presenting, then some calls.
All right, so this feels like it's like a sort of a pseudo radio, like public access channel sort of vibe, sort of format. I'm guessing. All right, so let's see. Yep. Who knows? Who knows? All right. How are we doing? All right. Anybody want to cover anything else? Now might be the natural time to say adios. So I'll give kind of a minute or so if folks have any other questions. But then y'all can enjoy the rest of your week and have a wonderful time. Literally give it a minute. It's not really a minute yet, but let's start going into going once, going twice. But that guy had a lot of he had like 163,000 subscribers. It's pretty impressive. I don't know what my issue is, but maybe I'm not as charismatic, you know. Maybe people just aren't subscribing to things. I don't know. Be crazy stuff. All right, I think that's a wrap, everyone. Thank you, and I will see you Sunday. Because again, I'm going to stream in the radio show, so you can just come here and it will be there as always. Well, not always. I'm basically going to be streaming now 5 times a month, or depending on how many weeks there are. You know, if there's 6 weeks in a month, I'll do it 6. 6 Sundays in a month. Depends on the number of Sundays. But I'll be doing this a lot more often. But I won't be carrying the load as much. Hey, I appreciate that, Arrow Gmod. I do. But again, I'm a results oriented guy, so I need to get the numbers up. I got rookie numbers right now, so as soon as I get the numbers up, then I'll feel the same. I mean, look, I feel like I'm doing, high quality work. It just, it takes a while sometimes. Yeah, be well, everyone. Thank you very much, and thank you for spending your Wednesday evening with me. Yeah, and I'll see you all Sunday. And you'll see Morehouse. Morehouse will be doing 99% of the talking. I'll just be throwing out questions and stuff like that. But he'll, Morehouse will do as Morehouse does. He's one of my favorite people. So, yeah, I think so too. It's just a matter of time. Again, I'm giving it 5 years. And, it would be nice to be above 100,000 by the end of this year. And, up to 10,000 by the end of this quarter. But again, that's a little bit more ambitious than reality. So, but anyway, I'll keep plugging away. So thank you all, and you all have an amazing night.